Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. I'm Patrice and today we are going to try to make this quick and easy. Today we are going to be doing a faux Chenille patch, and it's really not a patch because we're going to stitch it directly onto this Letterman or Varsity jacket that we got from Amazon. One of my students need me to do a last minute jacket for them. She's a senior and she wants me to do this jacket for her for homecoming. So we're going to be using our Ricoma Marquee 2001 to stitch the faux chenille on, and it's really just applique. Honestly, it's going to be applique because we are going to be using this as applique. All right, so let's head over to the machine so that I can show you all how to do it. I already have a hoop because of course I wasn't going to record this, but I'm like, I never showed this before. So we're going to be using our 5.5 inch mighty hoop because we're just going to be placing this right here on the left chest. So let's head over to the machine and let's get started.
Now we're at the Ricoma Marquee 2001 and we are just going to place our hoop onto the machine. I always like to make sure that I don't have any of the fabric underneath. You don't want to stitch any of your items together. That is the worst thing that can happen. So just double check and make sure.
All right guys, so now we're at our panel and I'm going to select the hoop that we'll be using. It's right there. And then I'm going to place the file onto the machine via our USB or our flash drive. All right, so now let's go ahead and select the design. It's on our USB and we're just going to pull it up. Now this machine, you need a DST file exchange, and here is our H that we will be using. And once we save it onto the machine, we're going to head over to machine, and here is the H. All right, so I'm going to press select. And now we have our H. Now this is a pretty large S. I did make it a little bit oversized just because she wanted it to be fairly large, but I would probably, if I were not making it so large, it might be like a tad bit smaller. So we're just going to get ready to set up our colors, and we have, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stops, 5 color changes. And so for the first color, I'm just going to use white, and we're going to select white there. For the second color, the first color is going to be the placement stitch so that I know where to place my material, and the second stitch is the tack down stitch. Now we're doing like a double applique for this one, okay? So we're going to be using glitter HTV and also that towel that we have for the chenille fill on the inside. All right, and so for the tack down stitch, let's go ahead and let's use white. So we'll use white again. And then for the satin stitch around, we're going to use a burgundy color. So let's go with the burgundy color. I use black. We're going to change this one to white. Uh-oh. All right, and so for the second stitch, that is going to be, we're going to do that as a, we can make that one. Let's do that burgundy. And then we're going to make the inside of that, or the satin stitch, we're going to make that one white. Let's just do 2 whites. All right, so we're going to do white and white. All right. Let's get started. And let's go to save. So now we have all of the colors that we want, and we're going to get ready to begin. So let's enter into our embroidery mode by clicking setup mode. Yes. And now all these other options are highlighted or available. And now we can simply do a trace. And when we do trace, it's going to trace around the area of the design.
She's got that soft spot for Bobby for whatever reason. After calming down,
One thing that I forgot to do was to make sure that this is on automatic manual. So we're going to change that to automatic manual. That will ensure that each stop will stop so that I can go ahead and then stitch. So now we're going to select save. And then we're going to do a hard press on the machine, and that will begin our stitch out. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a hoop out, and I'm just going to press the hoop out button on the machine, and then we're going to place our glitter HTV right on top. Move this out of the way. All right, guys, so with the glitter HTV, you have the carrier sheet on top, and then on the back you have your adhesive. You want to make sure that you remove your carrier sheet before placing it in the hoop. So this is only really going to get this outline of it. So we're going to place that just like that. Now you can use a glue stick, you can use the adhesive spray to make sure that it stays nice and tacked down on here, but I'm just going to monitor it to make sure. All right, guys, so I changed a few things, and we're actually going to end up using burgundy, glitter, and a different color thread. So this is just going to show you all exactly how I'm going to be getting this done. My piece of glitter is the size of the H on the inside.
So when doing applique, the placement stitch is very important so that you'll be able to know exactly where to place your material. And this next stitch is going to be the tack down stitch, and this stitch tacks down the material to the garment. So it's really just tracing that placement stitch again, but it's making sure now that your material is exactly where it needs to be. Okay, so with glitter HTV, I love using glitter HTV because you can literally just peel it off. You don't need any scissors when removing the excess material. So I really like that. You do want to be careful that you don't pull up any of your stitches when you're doing this, but you can get this done within minutes. And I love the glitter HTV. Now that our glitter HTV is in place and everything is removed and it's nicely adhered to the shirt for now, we're going to get ready to move to the next stitch. And this is the satin stitch, and it's just going to trace that H, but it's going to put a thick border, and the border that it's called, or the stitch that it's called, is a satin stitch. So it's just going to trace it. I chose to go with a gold thread because of the school colors, and everything looks to be stitching out pretty nicely. Now, as this is stitching, I went ahead and included another placement stitch, which is going to be important so that we can put that inner towel, our faux chenille, inside the inner part of the H, and that's going to already be done once this gets finished stitching. It's a part of this stitch.
All right, guys, so it's done doing the satin stitch around the glitter vinyl, and so we're going to bring this out. We're just going to press hoop out, and that's what we have. I'm turn the light on so you can kind of maybe see a little bit better. and it went ahead and placed the next placement stitch on the inside. So all I can do, if I need to, I can go ahead and remove the inner part of that H, and then I can get ready to place our chenille, our faux chenille. Now on the back of the faux chenille, I do have heat and bond, and you always want to make sure you peel off the heat and bond backing prior to placing it on or in your hoop. You see how it's shiny? So this is double-sided adhesive, okay? Now we can go ahead and begin ripping the inside of the H. I'm going to take it out with a hoop, and we're just going to take the inside out. All right, guys, so this is what that looks like. And so now we're going to place this back onto the machine, and we're going to place the faux chenille material, which is just a towel, on top, okay? And I'm just making sure that there is nothing underneath, because I don't want this jacket stitched together. This is the only one I have. All right, guys, so here's the faux chenille. I'm just going to place it on top, just like this, okay? And then it's going to do a tack down. I can cut it a tad bit smaller. All right, so I cut it down a little bit. And I am going to move this, because remember, we are going to be pressing this. We want to make sure we press the HTV, and we also want to make sure we press our towel, our faux chenille towel. All right, so we're going to get ready, and just going to move that up a little bit. We're going to hoop it back in. All right, and I'm going to press start. And this is the tack down stitch. All right, I'm going to hoop it out. And I know you can't really see it, but it is an outline of an H in there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my scissors, and I am going to cut around. So here we're simply going to, I'm going to trace or cut around those stitches. All right, guys, so I'm all done cutting the material, and this is what it looks like so far. Now, as you guys can see, cutting you're going to get a lot of that material around, so just have your lint roller around so that you could kind of get rid of it. But this is what it looks like so far. The next stitch is going to be another satin stitch on that inner part, but honestly I think it looks pretty good like this. If I wanted to keep it like this, I should have did another stitch as opposed to just that what I have, just to kind of keep it down a lot more. But I think it looks good. It came out good so far. And we're going to stitch another satin stitch. All right, so we're going to hoop that back in. And we are going to get ready, and just want to make sure nothing is underneath, and we're going to get ready to stitch it.
All right, guys, so everything's looking good, and we're getting ready to do the satin stitch or the satin border around the inner part of the H, which is just going to be on top of that chenille material. But you want to make sure that you kind of shave down the edges of the chenille material, just so that you can avoid having any of that material peep from under your satin stitch.
All right, we're all done with stitching, and I think this looks great. The only thing that I'm going to go and do, I'm going to clean up that area. We're also going to head to the heat press and press this. But for the most part, I love how this came out. I love how this came out. There's a little bit of that material seeping there. So one other thing I would suggest is just kind of cutting close to the border of the H a little bit more, like just trim down a little bit some of that material, but I think it looks great. All right, guys, so now it's time for us to apply some heat, and I moved the buttons out of the way because they do seem a little plastic here, and I also don't want it to cause a pressure situation here. Another thing that I would suggest, if you have a pressing pillow to place it underneath this, that would be ideal in this particular case. I'm just going to put this on top. All right, so that's looking very good. And then we can just fluff it up. All right, y'all, so we are all done with our Varsity. Well, we're not all done with it, but we're done putting the letter on it. And y'all, it looks so good. I love how this Faux Chenille looks on the Varsity jacket. You guys kind of see how thick that towel is from the side. It worked great as a Chenille fabric for applique. So this is just really double applique in one design, but I love how this looks. It came out perfect. So I do need to put some other stuff on here. Like I need to put her name. I need to put her year here, the class of 2025. And then we'll be done with this. But I love how this came out. I will have a link listed below to these jackets on Amazon in case you're interested. Remember, these are not the actual Letterman jackets. This is not a leather sleeve. I believe this is polyester. Let me tell you guys before we get off. Well, it's 30% cotton and 70% polyester. All right, this one is 30% cotton and 70% polyester, but it looks really good. So that polyester portion on these sleeves, that means you can probably do a little bit of sublimation on these sleeves. But this came out great. If you are interested in anything that I used, including a Ricoma machine, there's different types of Ricoma embroidery machines, or at least different types of needles or heads. I will have a link listed below in the description in case you're interested. Thank you all so very much for watching. And when I finish this jacket, I'll probably post a picture in my community section. So make sure that you follow what's going on in the community. Also, head over to Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok and join the Craftable Things community there as well. But I love you guys. Until next time, later.